What's up?
Cheers, man. How you doing?
Good. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. Putting my koozie in place. I'm ready to go. It's a
Let's do
late
it.
Monday night after a match week 12
Yeah.
that was actually pretty wild. I didn't think it was going to be as crazy with some of these outcomes as
Brought the
as, as,
fireworks
as
this
we'll
weekend.
find out with our betting recap from last week.
Yeah.
Brutal. We got
May
beat
have been
up.
some
We got
shock
beat
this
up with our
weekend.
bets,
That
unfortunately.
was a tough one.
But before we do that, yeah, let's get the drinks in because there were plenty of red cards. I can't remember how many. How many were there?
There was only two, actually. But first starting off with pick'ems, Austin had a very strong week in pick'ems, even though it was a tough week overall picking. You got second place with 7.5 points, and I got dead last. I was only 2 points behind you at 5.5, but still dead last.
But
So there's
seven
one
and a
drink for
half
me.
is a poor score. That's not a
I
good
know
score.
it was a rough week. And
Yeah.
it was tight and butched up. On fantasy, we flipped spots though. Actually, I finished in first with 83 points this week. Huge
Wow.
week out of Sala and Howland for me. And you actually finished in last with 57.
Yeah.
So
Tough one for me.
extra drink for you. We
I
both
went.
lost in our prop bets.
I went all in on Hoyland, and he didn't score, and then he proceeded to get injured. So
Yeah,
cool.
exactly.
That
Right. That
Madison
was just
screwed me up too.
I could have had a fantastic week, but I think I got zeros out of like two or three guys. Like I had a Stupinan, Odegaard didn't play, Stupinan didn't play.
Yeah, he was hurt.
Jao Pedro got me 1 point, but still I just had some heavy hitters this week. So
We'll
I was
talk
able
about
to
that
pull it
Brighton
out.
game, but that sucked.
That was bad. And then, yeah, you were talking red cards. So we had two more to add to the growing list of red cards this season. We had Fabio Villar and Arsenal. And then we had Mahmoud Dahoud on
Mahood,
Brighton.
not the dude this week.
Not Dahoud.
Again.
And just I think we'll keep doing this week to week, but just to catch everyone up on the stats so far this season, you'd already done this a few episodes ago, but these two red cards bring us up to 27 red cards total on the season. That's only 3 away from last season's total, and we're only 31% of the way into the season. So we're very much on pace for essentially 3 times as many red cards.
It was a few
this
weeks
season.
ago when I did the math, and it was like
Yeah.
2.3 or something red cards a week. Week. And that's just the Premier League. That's insane. That's an insane rate. With last year, I think it was 31 out of 38.
Yeah,
So
it was like
31 red
0.8
cards
or 0.7. Yeah,
in
it was something
38
under
weeks. And oh my God, there's 2 a week. It's insane. It's really stupid.
1. It's nuts.
And it's
So the pace is
affecting
keeping up.
so many matches, as we'll talk about. But
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's crazy stuff.
It's nuts. And I am curious because I feel like we're obviously from our perspective, it more so probably affects matches in a negative way. But for some of these teams with more red cards coming out, they maybe seen more opportunity as say at Chelsea last week against Tottenham, right? So I am curious if we were to go around the Premier League and ask fans that have maybe benefited from this season, what they would say in response to whether or not there's too many red cards. I think overall the consensus would be there's too many, but there's definitely been some people that I think have been benefiting from this in certain matchups this season.
Yeah, it's just unpredictable who's going to benefit next, you know?
Yeah.
I just think I hate seeing the I don't want to say fairness, but the equality of the match like disintegrate, and then you're left with a lopsided affair when it's like, okay, the better team didn't win type of deal, you know? So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, definitely making an impact this season. But yeah, let's get into week 12. Some exciting games.
Dude, yeah, you got to start and possibly finish with Chelsea Man City. Game of the week, possibly game of the year so far. And I am really happy I watched this because I think were you on
watched
that
it.
text thread where a couple guys were texting? I don't think you were on it. I think it was Tony, Blake, and Mikey, and they were texting about it. I saw the first text. They're like, "Yo, who's watching this match?" And then it proceeded to get like a bunch of texts after that. And I wasn't home, but I had it recorded. And so I just didn't look at
sick.
any of them. And then I got home and watched it. And wow, dude. Unbelievable match. Back and
So
forth.
sick.
I feel like this was the best Chelsea has played all year, and there's no doubt in my mind. Like,
Yeah. No. They looked better this week against the 9-man of Tottenham last week, which is crazy.
yeah, they
The
did
best
not.
team of the world.
They didn't inspire confidence, even though they won that because of the circumstances. But man, they came out and played hard. I feel like the level of quality and intensity was like Champions League final level stuff. You know, when you're just watching a match and you're just like, dude, everyone is playing so hard and they're all so good. You know what I mean? Like that's how it felt. It was I fucking love those games.
Yeah, just to be in the presence of that is awesome. Like it's just, and you could when the players are like really taking pride, it feels like, and like their performances out there, they're not like everyone's giving everything in those games. And there's something about it being a little wet and rainy too, just like it's all of it, man. Just was just like, this is Premier League. We talk about those specific games of just like the ultimate Premier League games, just Premier League at its finest. And this was a perfect example of that.
Well, and the announcer called it out. Sterling, that was probably his best match he's played in like 5 years.
Dude, you could tell he was amped up to go against Man City in this game.
Well, the announcer called out that he's like, hey, I think he's playing hard because he got snubbed for the England squad.
That too.
And I was like, oh, okay, maybe. But I thought along the lines of you, where he's like, I'm going against my old club. I'm going to show out. Like, I am better. You know, like I think it was a more a Man City like revenge game than it was that, but maybe both. I don't know. Either way, I haven't seen him play like that in years.
He played fiery, determined, taking people on, just like aggressive.
Dude,
like
he even
not
made a
scared.
nasty slide tackle. He got a yellow card for it, and he was all pissed off. And I was like, dude, that was a bad tackle. Like, he was all fired up. I haven't seen this side of him. I was like, dude, if you play like this every day, I'd actually be a fan of yours. But yeah, he balled out. Dude, I gotta say, Rodri, like, it ended up being not the winning goal, but he had the go-ahead goal in the second half, and it's like, dude, it's always Rodri. Like, when they need him most, it's fucking Rodri's there. You know what I mean? Like, he's so good. He's so good. Without De Bruyne, it's like Rodri is the guy who steps up for them, and no Gundogan.
No, we talked about it before. It was, I think we even said it before. Like he is the best player on the team now. He's obviously Haaland is in a different league, but he can only affect the game so much as a striker.
Exactly.
And with De Bruyne being gone, Rodri's the first name on the team sheet. And I actually heard the announcer say that in this game. He was like, he's obviously the first guy on the team sheet. Like he's just at a different level. It's crazy.
He's dead right, but it's also like Haaland is not coming off that team sheet either. Like it's 1A, 1B.
He's second on the team.
But to your point, Rodri influences the game more than Haaland does. It's just the nature of the position. But it was insane. Everyone played so incredibly hard, and there were awesome goals. It was getting chippy a little bit. Dude, I loved when they were all getting chesty and like Alan's just laughing and like Cole Palmer like snuck into the. Did you see when he like snuck into their little like free kick and Haaland like laughed it off and just like pushed him away? That's another revenge game. Cole Palmer.
Palmer shows up to score the tying penalty in injury time penalty kick, and just drains it, dude. Against a good goalie, man, just goes up there and just blasts it in there.
Top shelf, dude, where Daddy hides the dirty magazines.
Dude, so good. So good, man. But yeah, it felt like Chelsea was like finally playing with like Pochettino's actual attitude. Like it felt like Pochettino was like on the field, like because he's kind of got that fire in him, you know. And it just like it felt like it finally was like the extension of him out there played on the field for the whole 90 minutes, and it was great to watch
because it was never like it was always a close game the whole way. I
Yeah.
also think the coaches did a really good job because the substitutions they made, Doku was getting a little too individual with his stuff,
Hmm.
and he pulled in for Grealish at the right
Grealish
time.
is perfect for this type of game, dude. Dude, that just
I think Doku is
somebody
by
that can
far
hold
better
the
than
ball.
Grealish, but yes, for
Oh
that
yeah,
reason,
for
yeah.
sure.
And
Yeah,
then
he can hold the ball. He can take the fouls. Like he's got he's Grealish is like beefier and bigger, and he's got more of a fuck you attitude. I feel like than Doku. It was a great move there.
and then Pochettino on the other side made a good sub because Enzo was kind of not in the game as much as some of the other players for whatever
Hmm.
reason, and he made a good substitution, pulling him out and putting Mudryk in and kind of shifting the formation a little bit, and instantly
Gallagher
created
dropping back.
created a
Yeah,
goal. Mudryk went to, I think it might have been to Gallagher, who dished it off. It
yeah,
was like a nice play that was, I think, Chelsea's third goal. It was just a really high level match from like all
yeah.
levels. It was cool.
It
So,
was great, man. Yeah, this is what you just always hope for with these like high profile matchups,
and as
and it
much as
absolutely delivered.
yeah, and as much as it was like I kind of wanted a winner, the fact that it was a draw like seemed right. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it seems fair. Yeah, and it's what I wanted to see. Like any opportunity for Man City to stumble, yeah, I'm going to be stoked for because it's just going to make this league more competitive throughout the year, right? They're going to
No
keep
doubt.
kind of slowly rising to the top, and then you just got to hope they take a stumble like this, right? And just like it's just going to keep happening, right? They're going to slowly rise back up to the top, hope for another stumble, but as long as these types of results keep happening, and for it to not be just a dud, right? It wasn't like, oh, Man City didn't show up and they lost. It was like, no, they were there competing, and
Sure.
somebody else got to their level and actually competed for that day as well as they did.
And I was shocked. I haven't seen Man City's defense all year be opened up. Like what's the most they've given up this year? Like 2 goals. They've been a stout defense, and to give up
Yeah,
4 isn't incredible. So Chelsea came to
yeah.
play. It was awesome, dude. If we could get one match like that when we go to England, oh man,
They had
it'll be
so
worth the trip.
they'd come into this game having allowed only 8 goals through 11 games. So
Exactly.
they literally
Yeah.
their goals allowed went up 50% in this one game.
Yeah, in
Pretty
one game.
crazy.
But I feel like there weren't big mistakes. It was just Chelsea was playing at such a high level. It was awesome. Awesome game.
Yeah, really cool.
This next one, awesome for I don't want to say the wrong reasons, but
Yeah,
not quite the same. Tottenham had this game. You think they'd
yeah.
get the W, even with all their injuries, their red cards. Wolves scored 2 goals in stoppage time.
Hmm.
Unbelievable. This is such a Wolves thing. Wolves at
Yeah.
Molineux, I tell you, it's like a different animal than
It's a
Wolves
different
on the road.
animal, and Gary O'Neill is such a good manager. Like I was saying this as the start of the season. I could not believe that Bournemouth had got rid of him after the performance he had allowed the team to play to last year.
Yeah, I don't get
And
that
he's
either.
just reinvigorated all their confidence, their energy. They had belief in this game, and I mean, I think a win was a little bit unfair for Tottenham, but at least a tie I think was deserved in this game from Wolves
Yeah.
at the end of it. But yeah, so Sarabia subs in I think in the 88th minute or something, and proceeds to score the tying goal in the 91st, and then assist the winning goal. So
Yeah.
he's literally on the field
Nice goal
for
too.
basically he played for 10 minutes in the game
Yeah.
and scored and assisted the 2 goals. So talk about a super sub, pretty
That's
nuts.
so awesome. Yeah. And for Tottenham, that's just heartbreaking.
Ah,
The
it just
position
hurts,
that
man.
they're in, where they're like, hey, we're still going to get 3 points. And to not just, as you said, get one, but to get
And
0 in stoppage
back-to-back
time.
losses,
Oh
dude,
my
from being undefeated.
God. Back-breaking stuff.
Yeah, it's gotta hurt real bad, man.
I feel like,
Oof.
and then you get the news that Madison is going to
Yeah.
be out for a while. Like, that hurts. Richarlison, like, we've been over all the suspensions too. this could be a situation where Tottenham can't recover from. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you
I
think?
mean,
Do you think they're gonna stay in the? I think they'll stay in the European mix, in the top six mix.
yeah,
But do you think they'll stay in the top four mix?
I think they can. I mean, being realistic here, obviously, it's recency bias, a bad stretch here, 2 losses in a row. However, they're still only 2 points off the leader,
Yeah.
even with 2 losses in a row. So, they're still very much in the mix. They're still a point up on Aston Villa, still 5 up on Man United. Um, they're 6 up on Newcastle. So, and they're only 1 behind Liverpool and Arsenal. So, if they can right the ship steadily enough, quickly enough, they're still very much in that mix. If we see this stretch go on for a month or so, though, they're going to be in real trouble.
Well, let me see if this changes your mind. International break, and then after that they have Aston Villa at home.
Okay, huge game.
Then they go
4th and 5th in the standings.
They go to Man City.
Okay.
Then they have West Ham at home. Then they have Newcastle at home. Those are 4 tough games. Luckily, they have 3 at home, so that'll be helpful. But those are 4 strong teams, very strong teams.
Yeah.
So I think the next month it will be.
Oh, it's good to say a lot.
Make or break.
But they're also, I mean, with all these games when you're playing quote unquote strong teams, you kind of hold the destiny in your hands, right? If they go and win 2 of those games,
exactly,
they're still right in the mix, right? Even if they lose the other 2, like they're still going to be right there. So what they can't have is a complete just shellacking in all 4 of those games. If you manage to perform in 2 of those games, I think they're still going to be okay. But there's definitely a tough schedule.
Yeah, it's a tough schedule at the wrong time for them. Just brutal.
Yeah, the worst time possible.
Yeah. All right, this next one, Newcastle. I can't believe they lost to Bournemouth. I cannot believe it. I didn't get to watch this one, so I don't have huge insights on this.
You didn't watch the highlights?
I mean, I caught not the extended highlights like on YouTube. I just caught it like the post-match, like whatever NBC Sports. They show a couple things. Like it doesn't really give you a feel for the game. You know what I mean?
Dude, I'll tell you the feel for this game. The right team won, dude.
You think
Bournemouth,
so?
I swear. I mean, Bournemouth. I haven't looked at the stats, but Bournemouth seemed more dangerous. Like Newcastle just seemed out of sorts. I mean, the injuries are really starting to get to them. The certain absences they have. They didn't have Ishak or Callum Wilson, so they're playing Anthony Gordon at striker. Wait,
why didn't Callum Wilson play? I thought he
pulled a hamstring, I think.
Oh my God, that was the guy I added on my team. Of course, that's why I got last.
That's why they lost, because you had him onto your team, dude. It's your fault.
I lost Madison, Wilson, and Hoyland in a matter of 24 hours.
I'm going to add a new rule to my own team that I do not add any player that Austin owns because they always seem to get hurt.
I am cursing all of these players. Can you, dude? I can't win fantasy. Like I have to sub out 4 guys a week because of injury. It's insane.
Yeah. I'm looking at the stats now. Yeah, Bournemouth more than twice as many shots on target. It's almost 50-50 on possession. So from that perspective, okay, maybe the game was even, but for Bournemouth to be holding even with Newcastle was a huge win for Bournemouth. And once they scored, pretty early into the second half, it just felt like there was no way Newcastle was coming back. Like it was one of those games where they didn't have it. So really, really good performance for Bournemouth. They've been really struggling to start the season, so you got to feel really good after that. Mm-hmm. But you could tell. I mean, I don't really put this on. I know I don't really put this on like the coaching or anything. It's like the certain players they've lost have really hurt Newcastle.
Dude, they're like Tottenham North.
Yeah.
They're just running into a tough stretch of the season.
Times, man.
Injuries, suspensions, brutal. Hey, great win for Bournemouth. This is huge for the relegation battle. 3 points against Newcastle. Insane. Brighton hosted Sheffield. I felt like they should have had more goals before the red card. The red card was in the second half. I want to say like 60th minute, something like that. They didn't start Matoma or what's his face, and they brought him on at halftime because they weren't getting enough scoring, and they were definitely the better team. And then, dude, Mahmoud, not the dude. A bad red card. Like I get on the refs. I get on the refs for the terrible calls, but this one was on Dahoud. It was bad, dude. You shouldn't do that. Like, It was the right call, and it completely flipped the game over. They were winning 1-0.
I don't know. I felt like it was halfway towards the Rashford red card that happened the other day, but it was definitely more.
It was sloppier, though.
It was sloppy, exactly, right? Yeah. Like, he didn't need to do what he did. I don't think it was that intentional per se, but
yeah,
it looked really bad, and it was a red card.
Yeah, exactly. It was just clumsy. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't bad in like a.
It was that's where you're like
that's
actually
way.
Like that was dangerous play by you not really
Yeah,
not being
exactly.
in control,
I'm like that's a Sunday league play right there. You know what I mean? Just it was the right call, and it really flipped the game over. Brighton should have won this match. They ended up getting a point out of it.
5 minutes after that, they get scored on, right? Tied up 1-1, and that was kind of it.
And that's the story of the game right there. But Brighton still, like, bad luck. The streak continues. They haven't won in like 6 matches, I think. Maybe 7 now. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah,
but
it's something crazy,
they've been struggling, and they haven't been scoring and finishing as much as they were at the beginning of the season. So they got to get out of the funk they're in.
Yeah, they're starting to slip down the standings if they're not careful. They got West Ham and Chelsea and Brentford creeping up right behind them, so they got to watch out.
Let me ask you this, because I've noticed De Zerbi, I mean, they are playing European football, so there's managing that in addition to the Premier League and all the players, but I feel like he's got a different lineup every week.
Every week.
Yep. And I don't know if that's the best way to go about it, but they play the same system. How do you feel about his lineups?
I would say my traditional outlook on those things was I didn't like that stuff, right? I was like, find your best lineup and maybe play slight iterations off of that, right? But like, you have your lineup, and I traditionally never liked the what's rotated 3 guys at once, right, or whatever he's been doing, but from the success we have seen with this in the last 2 or 3 years, I had actually changed my opinion on it. I do think it's not a bad strategy, because rotating in the players, I don't feel like necessarily led to the issues that happened in this game, right?
Right.
Keeps legs fresh. They're obviously figuring out how to play European soccer. This is not something they've done before, right? And play all these extra games. So I could see why that would amplify that approach even more. But I don't necessarily blame that on the strategy or the approach. I think here it's just, specific tactics against certain teams that they've played. Yeah, I'm looking right now. So out of the last 5 games, 4 draws and a loss.
Yeah. In
the last 5 games. So obviously something's got to change, because they have, once again, we already talked about Newcastle, a few key injuries that, are hampering them. Definitely. Ferguson was out again this game. Obviously, Solly March has been out.
Yeah, it was so funny to see Ansu Fati playing up top.
Yeah, played striker. Yeah. And Cisso's out for who knows how long, right? So it's like they're even deeper than they are. And so you're probably right in that with the injuries they're encountering, they probably should be changing their approach, right? Like, get your best team out there as much as you can until you get more guys back, and then you can kind of resume your approach.
Well, so this match, I think he thought, okay, we got Sheffield at home, we got this. And then, so he rested Matoma, but then at halftime, he brought in Matoma, and I can't remember who else came in, but he's like, okay, we got to make moves. Like, this is not, like, what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Who else came in at halftime? I can't remember. It was João Pedro, I think. He was like, okay, we got to score this. And so I think it kind of backfired on them this week, but they got Nottingham Forest next week. They're no slouch. And then they got Europa, and then Chelsea, Brentford, Burnley. So yeah, they should get back on track. I think that Brighton Nottingham Forest match is going to be fun. Look forward to that. Oh,
Yeah.
oh
No,
man,
that'll be
that's a drink right there. Definitely
a
burp on the
solid one.
mic. Yep.
Solid one. All right, next game on the list we had Man U coming off of their 1-0 win last week,
Oh my gosh.
pulling out another 1-0 win at home against Luton Town.
I know, dude. How many corners did they have in this? Because I was watching this.
They had 11.
11 corners. Yeah, every time I looked up, I was at the gym, and every time I looked up, they were fucking taking a corner.
Another
And,
quarter.
I was like, dude, they got to score one of these, right? Hoyland's got to get. I have Hoyland. I put him as my vice captain. I was like, Hoyland's got to get one of these, of course. No goal scored. Fucking
And of course
Lindelof got
of course
one.
it's Lindelof gets the goal.
Like, oh my god. I didn't think they really were in control of the game, but they struggle to score, man. They do. They
do.
struggle to create chances. Why Rashford is not doing what he was doing last year, I can't explain.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I was like, I feel like it was telling us like how much he was doing on his own last year with this team, right? And it's just not happening this year for whatever reason. It's hard to know, like you said, hard to know why. But they can't manufacture enough chances with the players they have. Like they need to be doing more, and they just cannot figure it out. When you're relying on defenders like Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof to be your goal scorers, like there's shit's going wrong. All right, so like, what the hell is happening against Luton Town?
I can't explain. Like,
and Onana had a few saves that were like pretty good. Like,
dude, yeah, Onana was good. Onana was important.
Like I'm saying, like there was like a legitimate chances from Luton Town that like they could have tied this game.
Yeah, but it was definitely against the run of play. Like,
oh yeah, but that's all it takes is one of those to go in, right?
Sure.
Like you're playing a team like Luton Town. Obviously, we know Liverpool just tied them, but you're playing a team like Luton Town. You got to put that game away. Like,
exactly.
There can't be any chance or hope of anything else happening in that game. So they got the win.
You can't leave that margin
now.
You know, like you got to.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. Whatever's going on in Man United, like bad juju. And now Hoyland's out. So it's Martial up top, who honestly, he can do stuff on his own. He might be able to spark something.
Especially if he gets a little run of play, like if he gets to play say like 3 games in a row and he gets kind of, I don't know, gets an opportunity to get up to game speed.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got some juice in those legs still from sitting so much.
Yeah, it's crazy to see. Like, they brought on Antonio in the second half, or Anthony, sorry, and he had a couple of runs, but he just can't beat his defender. He tries to cut inside, but everyone's waiting for it, and then he just gets stuffed. He's useless. He's not good, dude.
I don't know. Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah, I don't know if it's like a confidence thing. He's just broken down, or if he's just I don't know.
I feel like he's a complimentary player. Where like, if he was playing with somebody better, it's like he's playing next to Bruno Fernandes. But I feel like in the right system or with the right, like he needs the right type of players around him for his skill set to really shine. I feel like he needs other players like drawing attention, or like somebody making runs by. So now he's on like a center back, right? Like I feel like he could be very effective if he found a way to put him in the right positions. But as a traditional winger going against a wing back, he doesn't have what it takes to get around him. Like he's too small, and like it just doesn't work.
He's weak, man. He's weak.
Yeah.
And Man United need to get off him as soon as possible. They need to bring in. And Garnacho is young. He's not there yet. Like he's quick.
He's actually like creating a lot of chances, but he's just too young to finish and make the right play.
Exactly. He hasn't figured out how to finish yet consistently, and even like getting that quality cross in is a struggle for him as well, I feel like. So
yeah, he's better creating for himself, I feel like, but Yeah, I mean, they need Rashford to step up. I mean, that's what the moral of the story is. Like that, those guys aren't cutting it, and he's the one that we know can cut it,
And he's not. Yeah,
but he's not. So he's got to figure it out.
crazy. Well, we'll see what happens with them. Next up, we have Everton winning at Crystal Palace, and there were actually goals. This was the opposite of what we thought was going to happen.
Yeah,
We are like, oh, this game's going to suck. It's going to be like 1-1, 0-0. And it was actually
yeah.
back and forth, a lot of goals. And Everton, man, I gotta change my opinion of them because I still think of them as beginning of the season Everton.
Mm-hmm.
And Everton with Calvert-Lewin and how they're playing right now is a force to be reckoned with. And
Dude, I know.
I've been picking against them every week, and they keep proving me wrong. So now I'll probably
They
pick
just,
them, and they'll just go in the shitter. That's probably what's going to
yeah,
happen.
yeah. That's exactly how it'll go. The stats of this game, though, just to share. So obviously, strong win, 3-2, like you said. They only had 32% possession, so 68% possession for Crystal Palace. They both had equal number of shots on target. So like you look at the stats on paper and you're like, it was pretty even, if not Crystal Palace was better, but
Hmm.
not when you watch, right? Not with sort of the passion and like the chances that Everton felt like they were creating. Like it's definitely one of those teams where like the eye test is telling us more than the stats on the paper. And you watch the team and you're like, oh yeah, that team's playing well. They're playing together, playing for the manager, for the fans.
Hmm.
They have they have good players in key spots now. You had Idrissa Gueye finally back, I think, playing really well again. I think he scored his first goal since like the last time he was at Everton. So just like key players starting to show up and like really make a difference. So even if the stats don't say it, they feel like they're playing well.
Yeah, can't believe I can't believe they won this match. I really can't. But I do want to point out this has been my guy, Elise. No, Elise was subbed in. Didn't
Oh, I
start.
didn't know that. I didn't miss that.
Elise came in, so he's on his way back, and I think this is going to be a huge
Yeah.
help for Eze and all the other attacking players on
Yeah,
Crystal
because
Palace.
Eze, I think that was the first start for Eze back. Like, so
Yeah.
he's been out for a while too.
Mhm.
So that's awesome. I did not know about Elise. So that's great. Great for Crystal Palace though. You got to be
Yeah.
looking at the positives there.
Yeah, I think if they can like maybe put him instead of like Schlupp or something like that, like he facilitates and he can create chances for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So really good news for Crystal Palace. And I'll probably put him on my fantasy team, and then he'll get injured next week. So hopefully it won't be short lived.
I mean, it's probably a good investment right now. I bet his dollar amount is low, so I wouldn't blame you.
Yeah. All right, last one or no? Yeah, well, last one of note. West Ham win comeback against Nottingham Forest. This was kind of how I expected. I probably got this one right. I don't remember my exact pick, but this one is how I thought it was going to go. And dude, I like this West Ham team right now.
Yeah,
Don't
dude.
you? Like this team is sick.
Yeah.
And they did what we talked about. David Moyes agreed with us. He put Bowen up top, played Kudus, and benched Antonio. And we were saying last week, we were like, dude, it wouldn't be cool if they played together. And like Antonio's
Yeah.
been sucking. And he did the exact same thing.
2 games in a row now that he's done it. Yeah, I love it.
Dude, and Bowen scored. Like, it's a cool team. Paqueta is a baller. Like, I like their squad.
Yeah, I wanted to shout out Suchek.
Oh, yeah, I love
Watching the
Suchek.
highlights. This guy, I know he's on. He's just like he just seems like so chill. But he had like 3 headers that like should have gone in that either got saved or whatever, right? And then he finally scores in the 88th minute with a dime of a header into
was a
the
good
corner.
header.
It was so rewarding to see him. He was just like in shock that he hadn't scored.
He's a big dude, and he always
yeah.
just like makes his
He just-
presence known in the box when he's in there. I love it.
He literally got on the end of like 5 separate crosses, when there's freaking 20 people in there. So like, yeah, shout out to him. But yeah, they're playing well in many regards. Their weakness is still their defense, right? When you look at their field. Like they're great with attack and midfield, but that's the one weakness that they've got to be careful of. But if you have enough offense like they did today, you can allow 2 goals and still win a game. And yeah, I mean, they keep playing like this, they're going to be sneaking up on some of those teams we talked about earlier. They're
Dude,
right behind them.
exactly. And then anytime there's a free kick, you're like, oh shit, James Ward-Prowse is on it. Like,
Yeah,
he is. Yeah. He's so good on like corners, free kicks, anywhere. Like it's always just like a perfect
anything
ball,
right where you want it every time.
He's their Kevin De Bruyne. It's pretty sick.
That poor man's De Bruyne. I like it.
And then I don't know if you want to
still getting snubbed from the national team though.
Dude,
still didn't make it this time.
I don't understand that. if we meet any London
Jordan
fans,
Henderson they're choosing Jordan Henderson over Ward-Prowse right now.
That is a fireable offense, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like riot worthy. Yeah,
that is so stupid. If we befriend any London fans when we're there, the first question I ask them is, "What do you think of Southgate?" I just want to get their opinions, because like I would be livid if I'm not even an England fan. Like I get so upset that like he's not on the squad. Who else got snubbed? Someone else got snubbed. I can't remember. But it's like, why are you picking these guys that were good 4 years ago? Like, it makes no sense to me. I don't get it.
Yeah, Sterling got snubbed. Ben White's just continuously getting snubbed.
Yeah, like, the Ben White thing I don't understand. Sterling I could understand.
Yeah.
But
I get that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
After this match, you might want to look at Sterling again. If you're like, yo, can you play like that every time? Because if you can, you got a spot on my team. All right, Liverpool, Aston Villa, Arsenal, they all win. Anything you want to go over in those?
There was something I was going to mention. Well, we had the red card in the Arsenal game. That was the second red card. But still, comfortable 3-1 win over Burnley. Man, I had something I was going to mention, but I'm blanking now. So,
yeah, all those teams we kind of expected to win, and they did.
Yeah, I think Liverpool. I mean, I was shocked that Liverpool won 3-0 against Brentford. I think that was a little bit of a letdown from them.
Dude, I'm telling you, Anfield, man,
expecting more.
Anfield,
yeah.
It's just they're so good there, and Salah scores every time. Every time there's a home match, Salah gets at least one.
Yeah. Oh, I did want to shout out. That was it. Our boy Raul Jimenez finally scored again in the Premier League.
Yes, he did.
In that Aston Villa Fulham loss. Yep. So it was nothing more than a consolation being down 3-0, but it was something like it was some ridiculous number of months since he'd scored in the Premier League, like almost 2 years or something since he had scored. So that was definitely a feel-good moment.
Before his head injury, he was a good striker, and
yeah, he was really good
for Wolves. He was really strong. Like I
just lost all confidence, man.
Yeah, it was a long time he was out, a long time. So really cool to see him score. That's a good call out. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into the news.
All right.
This hurts me a little bit. Christian Eriksen out, but only for a month. But I don't know, man. He's like, what, 30, 31, 32, something like that?
Yeah.
So that scares me. Those month injuries, they could easily turn into 2 months, into 3 months type of thing. So I hope he's back because I like him.
Yeah, it is a knee injury too. So that scares me a decent amount as well. So.
And then Højlund, he's only 20, so he'll be fine. But he's out for at least a couple of weeks.
They expect him hopefully back at the end of the month, basically. So I could see him missing 2 or 3 weeks probably.
Yeah. All right, in the rumor section, tell me about this. Where did you see this?
So I saw it on the interwebs, but obviously what are we now? 2 months away from transfer window season, so we're going to start seeing more and more rumors heating up. But the latest one that I saw was Newcastle being interested in bringing in Julian Brandt from Borussia Dortmund, Julian Brandt, I should say, who Austin absolutely loves, who has been playing really well this year.
Guilty.
Obviously, a national team member. It could be just another just dynamic threat for Newcastle. They keep stacking up these players that are threats, and with some of the injury issues they've had, they may very well need backup as we get into that part of the season. So I like it. I like this move. I'd love to see him at the Premier League.
Yeah, I don't think they need him as much as they need a Tonali replacement. I saw them. Yeah. I saw it was just social posts, but it makes sense for them to go after Calvin Phillips. It's like, he'd be a good get. He's
fill in
buried.
The problem is maybe they have the money to spend now, but from what I heard is Man City were trying to get top dollar for him still, which nobody's going to want to pay.
That's stupid, though. It's like, dude, you don't play him. Like,
yeah, I know.
Loan him at the least. You know what I mean? Like,
I get it. But even like this game that we saw where, Newcastle were missing strikers, I still feel like, say, Julian Brandt had been in that team over like a Willock, I think they definitely would have created more chances, right? Like, so I think,
dude, don't get me wrong. Julian Brandt would improve any team that he went to, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But I just think they have more glaring needs than that. But
that's a good point.
But it would be, they'd be better, no doubt. Mm-hmm. You know me. I love Julian Brandt.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know. Had to shout it out. So other news coming from the German league. So right now, we talked about at the start of the year, the rumors that had leaked about Ancelotti leaving for the Brazil job next season, which obviously is kind of staying under wraps, but is very much going to happen, essentially. So the
worst wraps.
The most obvious replacement right now is Xabi Alonso, who obviously once played at Real Madrid, who's currently been coaching at Leverkusen and doing really well with Leverkusen in Bundesliga. And so I guess there's been actual discussions. I don't know if this is against the rules or not. I don't know what's going on, but basically,
are there rules?
I don't know. It's been greenlit though from the Leverkusen side that they would allow him to leave for another opportunity for in the range of 15 to 18 million euros next season. So I think he's definitely now the front runner, and very much this is probably already a done deal that will just be signed off at the end of the season. So I think it's a good move. I think he's done really well. I think he's a good personality to be a coach. Those are the types of players that you want to be coaches of your team. Players that controlled the game when they played. They just were like pulling all the strings, like that's, I don't want the striker that just sat up top and scored goals to be my coach. I want the central midfielder that did everything to be my coach. Yeah. So I think there's a lot going for him, and I think it would be a good move.
Yeah, I think everybody wins. All parties.
And he's got good experience now, right? He's playing in a bigger league, right? And, if he was just getting into coaching, I get it. Like, that's too early, but he's coached in a big league now and been successful. So
yeah, and Leverkusen could get some good players for that amount of money for a coach.
Yeah.
That'd be huge.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah,
definitely help him out.
All right, I knew Odegaard got injured, but what is the severity of the injury?
So yeah, I think the fantasy app might have been like saying something different, but
never trust the fantasy app. That's what I
exactly.
Learned.
So I didn't know this, but he missed the last 2 games because he's been in concussion protocol. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
And yeah, which I've never, really heard of in soccer. And it was from getting absolutely blasted in the face while training. So it was like in a practice. I guess, I don't know. It was somebody shot it from point blank and just domed him in the face. But he literally got a concussion, and that's why he's missed the last 2 games. So I was I don't know. Yeah, I don't know like how much longer he's going to be out. But like, I didn't think he was going to miss last game. It said it was like 75% chance of playing, and it was like a hip injury or something. Like, so it was kind of interesting and shocking to read that it was actually concussion related, which is a rarity, I feel like, in the soccer world.
Yeah, they need him.
I know.
Need him.
Yeah, I mean, they were able to, escape last week against the lower team, but
Yeah,
He's, I
exactly.
mean, he's integral, man. He pulls the strings for that team. So some other news from around. So I'm not fully up to speed on whatever's going on here, but obviously we're going into the international break, and I saw several articles talking about essentially an emergency crisis with the Bulgarian national team. And I guess what's going on is they're supposed to be hosting a Euro qualifier against Hungary like this weekend, and or Thursday or Friday even, like sometime very soon. And there's been so much sort of political drama within the soccer federation because I guess Dimitar Berbatov is trying to uproot the current president. There's all this stuff going on. There's a lot of sort of stuff in the background that I'm not really fully up on. But essentially, as retaliation, the guy pulled strings for UEFA to say they have to move the game to a different city from the city that everyone wanted the game to be in as like retaliation for everyone supporting Berbatov. And then that city is like, we can't host a game. Like the stadium's under construction, like it's getting like renovated, and we're doing renovation during the break. Like we can't have the game here. And so there's literally like 72 hours from now, there's supposed to be a game, and they don't have a stadium to play it in Bulgaria.
What?
It's like I've never heard of anything like this with like at the international level. So I don't know what's going to happen, but it's kind of like a first in terms of like UEFA political bullshit. I've never seen it get to this level. So I'm really curious to see what happens. There may be some, serious ramifications that come out of this. If they aren't able to host the game, I think they automatically forfeit, something like that. And then they could be completely done with their Euro qualification. So
Dang.
there's definitely going to be a lot more fallout that comes out of this. But to have that happen at the Euro level is insane. Like I've never heard of that. Maybe that would happen in like Nicaragua or something, Guatemala. But for it to happen in like a large European country, it's
Yeah.
crazy to me. I would never expect that.
That's weird that UEFA's like, all right, we'll move it.
I, yeah, that's where I'm a little fuzzy on the details, but it sounds like there's a lot of like shoulder, elbow rubbing going on, and like, people pulling strings to make other people look bad, and like
Yeah.
people like coercing or like, I don't know about bribing, but like trying to intimidate people into doing certain things. So definitely an interesting story.
Yeah.
And then the last bit of news we got is Napoli finally decided to sack Rudy Garcia. We talked about it, I think maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago. But he definitely was on the hot seat. And with Napoli start, I think they're in
So they're in fourth.
fourth, maybe, or yeah,
Yeah.
fourth. So obviously, having won last season, they felt like they weren't going in the right direction with the team they had.
That's just crazy to me. Like, you won the league. Won the league. And,
Yeah,
okay, things aren't going as planned 12 matches in, but you're still in fourth. Like, you're not out of it. To just, what is,
I get it. The difference here, though, is he didn't win the league.
I
Coach that
guess,
won the league left,
I guess
and
that's
then
true.
you bring in this new guy,
I didn't
right?
put
So
that
it's
together.
much easier
Yeah.
to fault him, right? And to be in that hot seat in this situation. It's almost like an impossible situation. Everyone's
Yeah.
going to hold you to an impossible standard, and they have every shred of reason from the fans to be like, this guy's not cutting it at any time. So I think it was untenable.
My thing is like, okay, just make sure you're bringing in someone better.
Yeah,
If you're gonna hook somebody after 12 matches, you better be ready to bring in someone better. Not just like, oh, we'll figure it out. We don't know. Like, I don't
yeah.
I think coaches get the hook too quickly.
Oh, I mean, way too quickly. And we watch soccer so much that I started to become shocked with how like long coaches last in American sports.
Yeah.
And then I realized like even that's too short, I feel like. But like we're so brainwashed now with how fast coaches get fired in soccer
Mm-hmm.
that it's like it's really crazy. Like how
Yeah.
do you have time to like build an infrastructure or system
Yeah.
when you get fired after 12 games? Like what?
Yeah. Well, I think it's like the thing is all the best teams, the coaches have stuck around or have been there. And you could argue like, well, they kept their job because they were winning. It's like, yeah, but you know, there is a benefit, in my opinion, to having stability at the coaching position.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
I
and
don't know.
and benefits that can't start to show themselves until you know
Right.
you have time to put those things in place.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. It looks like you got a bunch of quotes queued up. I don't have any, but I do have a would you rather. So why don't you hit me with your quotes and then I'll get into mine.
All right, so first quote is from our recurring Saudi Arabia segment. So we haven't had an entry on quotes from this segment for a while, but we did have a quote from OC Men the other day. So he said, "I got to be honest," which I love. I love when players are just brutally honest. "I never thought of leaving last summer as Napoli wanted to keep me, but when the offer from Saudi came in, it was a huge one, a big one. It was difficult to reject. But I spoke to Napoli and then I decided to stay." But just being brutally honest,
I mean, he's right.
he's,
He's right. They all got
I
a
just
ton of
want to
money.
know what it was. Like, what was the offer? Next quote for you. So in the Chelsea Man City game, that was absolutely epic. There was a two goals from Haaland. The second goal was kind of sloppy. So he's kind of
He
diving,
like
sliding to the
slid it in.
ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, he basically like slid tackle the ball into the goal, and it kind of like rode up his like hamstrings into his ass as he like went into the goal. And after the game, he was interviewed and he said, "I've never scored with my balls before, so that's a milestone."
Oh man, he's great.
He's so good. So the next one I got from you was from Deserby. Let me find it. I got it here somewhere. So Deserby said, "Where is it? Oh man, hold on. I'm trying to find it. It was something along the lines of, oh, technical difficulty. Hold on.
All right, you look for yours. I actually got one for you that I didn't have queued up, but I sent it to
Oh,
you.
okay, here it is.
Okay, got it.
He
Good.
somehow he I don't know what prompted this, but basically he said, "I hate 80% of Premier League
Oh yeah, I
referees."
saw that. No, I actually
Okay,
saw I saw the audio on it, and it wasn't as bad as the quote sounded.
okay,
I mean, it was like it was something like he kind of phrased it like I don't have the quote in front of me, but it was the lead up was like the referees. It was something about like I don't like the referee or I didn't like the calls, but I don't like English referees. At least like 80% of them or something like that. But
yeah.
it didn't. It wasn't like it
It
didn't.
wasn't okay. It wasn't hate. It was I don't like. Okay,
Yeah, it wasn't as bad. I mean, shit. I couldn't blame him if I were him. Like I don't know.
yeah.
But as I did want to say, did you notice Anthony Taylor was ref the Man City Chelsea match? It's like dude got demoted and then
Throw
brought
him,
back to
throw
play.
him straight into the fire, dude.
Oh man, I gotta say the first penalty for Man City was super weak. I
Yeah,
don't think that should have been a penalty.
yeah. I think it was soft.
But after that, in a heated match, I think he did a pretty good
As
job.
good as you could do. Yeah,
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 yeah. So
yeah.
I just
Tells you
thought
just
that
how
was
hard it
funny.
is. Yeah. I know. I've ever because I didn't realize it was him watching the highlights until there was some moment later in the game where they did like a close up, and I was like, "Oh shit,
Yeah.
it's Anthony Taylor. He's in this." A couple more quotes for you before you get to yours. So this was a quote from Postecoglou before the game this weekend, but after last week's game, obviously with
Hmm.
all the injuries and red cards. And basically, they asked like, "Are you tempted to change your style for this game coming up against Wolves, right? With all the injuries and absences you have?" And he said, "There's always a temptation, but apart from chocolate, I'm quite good at not giving into temptations."
Oh
He's
man,
always
he's
got one lined
great.
up.
He's great in the fucking press box.
It was so good. Okay, and the last one for you, we're switching over to Serie A here, but I got a Mourinho quote. I feel like it's been a while since we had a Mourinho quote.
I know you could do
But
a Mourinho quote every day.
we had the Rome derby this weekend though. We had Lazio against Roma, which was a huge, huge match. I don't know if you caught that one. But Pedro, who's obviously at the latter stage of his career, is on Lazio, and after the game, Mourinho was asked about him. He said Pedro is a fantastic player, but he could also be a swimmer because the way he dives in the pool is fantastic.
Yes. Yes. Mourinho, I fucking his
Just
quotes are just
unmatched,
so good, dude. He'll flame anybody.
unmatched,
I
dude.
think I just thought of it now. I think I'm gonna make a Mourinho quote. What are those calendars called? Where you like peel off a day
Yeah,
like every time.
yeah, the Pula calendar. Yeah,
I'm gonna make one of just Mourinho quotes. I think I could get 365 in there.
dude, I'm sure you could, man. He's got a lot in the library now. We got
He
to find the,
does.
the the database.
He's got a new one every day. Every day.
That's
That's
so
hilarious.
good.
Okay, my quote was from Kevin De Bruyne, where he said, I think pass completion is one of the most wasteful stats for players like me. Maybe for defensive midfielders it's important, but not for me. I can have 96 pass completion and I can play sideways and backwards. I wasn't dangerous the whole game. It means I've done nothing. What's the point of it? And I agree with this statement 110%. Because
100%.
there are players that I will watch that I'm just like, this dude never takes a chance. He never pushes forward. He turns and passes back. He shields away and passes sideways. Like it's just, I hate those players. I feel like it's just, it's what drove me nuts when I watched the Spanish team win the World Cup
Yeah.
because
Oh, they completed the most passes ever. It's like, okay.
yeah, but they also scored 8 goals or something ridiculous to win the World Cup. But I saw that and I was just like, Kevin De Bruyne, you're already my favorite player. Now you're just more my favorite player.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right.
All right, you got some stats. I actually have
I just
two
have one
would you
stat.
rather's for you.
Okay, I just got one stat. Then you can hit me with your would you rather. So, I actually already mentioned one of the two stats I had, but it was from the Tottenham Wolves game. So I already mentioned the Sarabia stat, right? So he was the only player to come in after 88 minutes in a game
Yeah.
and both score and assist a goal in regulation, basically. So that's
Yeah,
obviously an epic
that's
stat.
insane.
Also, on the Tottenham side, no team has led a Premier League match as long as Tottenham did and ended up losing. They led it for 88 minutes in the game and lost. First time that's ever happened in the history of the Premier League.
That's insane.
Ouch.
Dude,
Ouch.
I know.
You can't lose that game.
Cannot. I feel so bad for them too. It's like,
I know.
this is like how I felt for Man
I
United in
don't.
the
I wouldn't.
Champions League.
Exactly. I wouldn't feel bad for them if that happened like 4 games from now. But the fact it happened right after that other
Or
game,
if it
you're
happened to
just
them
like,
last
oh,
week. If it
man.
happened to them
Yeah.
like a week before, I wouldn't have felt bad.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But after last week, it's just like, damn, that sucks.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so here's my would you rather for you.
Okay.
It's kind of not quite a would you rather, but you'll see. I'm going to give you some attacking fronts for some top teams, and I want you to rank them essentially, but we'll go one at a time. PSG's front line of Mbappe, Muani, and Dembele. Or would you prefer Arsenal's Gabriel Jesus, assuming he's healthy, and then Odegaard, Saka, and Martinelli?
Wait, so 3 versus 4?
Yeah, you can throw in. I'll let you throw in Zaire Emery
Okay,
or whoever
if
you
you
want.
if you took Odegaard out of it and you just did the front 3, Martinelli, Saka, and Jesus,
Let's stick to that.
I would take the PSG.
You would take the PSG. Okay.
Yeah.
How about Barcelona's Lewandowski, Rafinha, Yamal? I'll let you sub in Torres or João Felix if you want. Any assembly of those. Would you take the Arsenal trio above them?
Yeah.
Okay. Real Madrid, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, Bellingham.
Man. They're probably the best so far this year. They're unreal,
So
but they don't really have a true striker. But they're still scoring insane amounts of goals.
exactly. So would you take them over the ones we just listed?
I would, if you had to say this season, they're the best. I think they're at another level.
Okay. Where would you slot in Harry Kane, Leroy Sané, Kingsley Coman, or Musiala?
And I think so. On this season, it just sucks that Bayern plays such shitty competition because it just skews everything. I would take that trio over the Arsenal trio. I would probably put them just behind the Real Madrid trio.
Okay. Okay.
So I think we got
Ahead of
Real
PSG
Madrid,
though.
Bayern. Oh yeah. Sorry, yeah. So I think Arsenal's fourth on that list. Yeah, I think Real Madrid, Bayern, PSG, Arsenal. Not counting Odegaard, right? Just counting like the front three.
Okay. How about
Because even
Haaland?
Bellingham's not really part of the front three per se.
Yeah, but you got to. But he is though. Like he's like the
Yeah,
Odegaard
I
kind
know
of.
what I know what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like part of that. But
Yeah. What about Haaland, Doku, Alvarez, and then I'm leaving out KDB. We'll just pretend he's not coming back, and then you can throw
I
in
mean, it
Bernardo
becomes very
Silva if you
different if we
want.
start. No, it becomes very different if we start talking about front fours. But if we keep it to the three, Haaland alone above Arsenal, I think it's like a. I feel like I. Oh my god, this is tough, man. I feel like, jeez, I don't think they're better than Real Madrid as a trio. Like I think Real Madrid's just too good with those guys, but it becomes like, are they better than Bayern, PSG? And that's really tough. I guess I would slot them in just behind the front three of Bayern.
Okay. So Bayern's number one.
Third, no, Real's number one.
Oh, Real's number one for you. Okay. Okay.
Bayern
Oh, so
two,
Real,
Man City
Bayern, Man
three,
City,
PSG,
Arsenal,
Arsenal.
and then Barca. Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting. Interesting. Because the order of the teams in the Champions League as far as favorites to win it: Man City, Bayern, Real Madrid, Arsenal, PSG, and then Barcelona. And I was curious to see if you were going to match it up the exact same as the rankings, but you were a little bit off.
yeah. I had the same top three, but different order, huh?
You did. You were close.
Yeah.
You were actually pretty close.
Okay.
But I mean, obviously, this takes other things into account.
It's just like it depends what you like because so you have like Haaland and like Kane, right, and Muani, right, that are like traditional strikers,
And
maybe
Lewandowski.
slightly different, and Lewandowski, sorry, traditional different types of different types of strikers, but traditional.
Right.
And then you have Real Madrid that does not have that,
I know.
but what they have is unbelievable speed and skill. Like Rodrigo is like you would say the weakest of the three, and he's absolutely insane.
He is really
Like
good.
it's like oh that guy's he's the worst one, and you're like nah, like he's really
know.
good, dude.
It's insane. I feel like
So
I think if Kevin De Bruyne was healthy, I would take the Haaland Kevin De Bruyne. But
yeah.
with him out, I would put Bayern ahead of Real Madrid and ahead of Man City. I just think the combination of Sané, Musiala, and Kane alone are just so difficult to deal with.
Coman's been playing super
And then
well
Coman,
too, yeah.
you have Coman too. That's like okay,
Like Coman's probably playing ahead of Coman. It's probably Coman and Sane, maybe
Yeah.
maybe Musiala over Sane even, but like Coman's been balling this year.
it's just so
I
dangerous.
definitely think Barcelona's the last. I think that's clear.
Yeah, I think that's the easy pick.
But then from there, it gets very difficult. I could see people that say, I don't like PSG and the way they play and put them next to last. But you have Mbappe on that.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. But
Who,
I would
more
I
than
would
any of these other players can, like.
I think Arsenal's front unit is better than just Mbappe, and I really
Yes.
don't think Dembele is as good as his price tag. Muani's a fine player, but I think I would prefer the entirety of Arsenal just ahead of PSG.
I think Muani is. I mean, maybe I have a little bias here, but I feel like Jesus is always hurt, and
Yeah.
like they don't. Muani to me feels like a more reliable striker than Jesus. So that to me was kind of the edge. I wasn't really thinking Dembele or Mbappe. Like I was kind of canceling those out. I feel like obviously Mbappe gets you extra points
Yeah.
for sure, but for me that decision really came down to Muani versus Jesus, and I would choose Muani. Like I think he's more reliable. He gives more threats. He's bigger. Um,
Yeah. I can see that.
maybe not as consistent like in front of goal, but like the other stuff
Consistently
he brings
plays at
you.
least.
Yeah, the other stuff
Yeah.
he brings you though, I think gives him an edge up on Jesus.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay. So I don't know if you saw this, but Rio Ferdinand did interview, and they basically asked him like, this guy or that guy, like who was better? Because obviously he was a defender for years. I want you to pick and then see if you get the same as him. So the first one was, oh wait, started it like at the end of the video. Hang on, let me back it up. Oh, it was Maldini or Sergio Ramos. This one you're gonna love.
Harder to defend against?
No. Just who was better?
Oh, Maldini.
He got that one correct.
Yeah, okay.
Lewandowski or Benzema?
Um, Benzema.
Correct. Henri or Mbappe?
Who? He played against Mbappe?
I don't know. Well, maybe he's just
Oh, he's
asking.
just
Yeah.
who he thinks
I'm
is
just saying,
better.
like he was a player against many of these guys.
I mean, he actually probably played against him, Henri, so he'd probably say Henri. But I think Mbappe is like,
He did
I think
say
Mbappe
Henri.
is the next level up from Henri, though.
Well, it's just hard to say where Mbappe is going to finish, but at this trajectory, I feel like
Yeah,
he could get above Henri.
yeah, yeah.
But a lot to be done still. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
goalkeepers: Buffon or Casillas. We know what your pick would be.
Yeah, I feel like
Buffon.
he would say Casillas because
He
probably played
did say
against him more.
Casillas.
Yeah, he probably played against him more.
Iniesta or Modric?
Iniesta.
Is that your pick? Or do your pick and then his pick.
Oh, sorry. I've just been doing his picks.
Yeah.
That's funny. Um, over the length of career, I would choose Modric as a better overall player, but Iniesta at his height was better than Modric, I think. And I think Ferdinand would choose Iniesta.
He did choose Iniesta.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really good one. Okay, Salah or Neymar?
Salah all fucking day, dude. That guy is
I agree.
unbelievable. Like he's been like a star for like however many years, and he's like still underrated. I don't understand it.
I
Like
don't understand it
he's
either.
literally he's like 2 goals behind Haaland this year. You know,
Dude, and he's been doing this for like 5 years. It's crazy.
it's unreal. I feel like he would agree.
He said Neymar. He said Neymar at his peak, he was just unplayable. I would take Salah every day of the week.
I would too.
Every day
I
of
mean,
the week.
Neymar at his peak, if he wasn't being selfish, could create a lot of goals for other people. I don't.
Yeah.
But if
That's
you're
a big
one on,
if.
if you're a one-on-one with either of those guys, I would choose Salah all day.
Okay, then they followed it up with, okay, Neymar or Eto'o, Samuel Eto'o.
I mean, if you chose Neymar over Salah, I feel like he would choose him again. I would choose Eto'o.
I would also choose Eto'o. He picked Eto'o. He said,
Wow.
he said back-to-back treble, Eto'o. Like that seals it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Piqué or Puyol?
Ooh. I don't know. Puyol would just be so much more fun to play
I
against.
would totally pick Puyol.
Yeah. I mean, Piqué was a better player when he was like in his prime.
He
so,
agreed. He also picked Piqué.
Yeah.
Muller?
But Puyol was way more fun.
Yeah. Muller or Zlatan?
Ooh. Dude, Mueller. Oh, man, that's crazy. They always pick a Zlatan, but Mueller is just he has something, man. And I feel like
He's just a good player.
he's just he just can't stop him. I feel like he would choose Mueller. I would
He,
probably choose Zlatan. I feel like you have to, like, at his just because what he brought at his peak. But
yeah, I choose Zlatan. You choose Zlatan. He chose Zlatan.
okay, but Mueller, that I mean, that's a little unfair to Mueller against some of these other guys. He might win. So
He's a great player.
yeah,
Sergio Aguero or Suarez?
who I feel like he probably has a grudge against Aguero. Man, dude, I I liked Aguero better, but I think Suarez was better at his prime. He was unreal. Not as likable,
Not as
but I think
likable.
he was better.
That's easy.
He was
I would
better
choose
than
Aguero.
Aguero.
He chose Aguero, and the interviewer was like, kind of like, "Oh, really?" Like type of thing. And he was like, "I played against both of them. Aguero was harder to defend." That's what he said. So if it's he said
Yeah.
from a center back perspective, that's why
Yeah.
he chose Aguero, which is interesting because I
I,
feel like Suarez would be
I
difficult to handle as well.
I know. I feel like Suarez would be much more difficult one on one. Like Suarez could create more on his own in his prime. Aguero was great, but he was like a striker where like he needed service. I feel like he was great at like poaching goals, right, and like
Mm-hmm.
finishing. But I feel like Stars was more of a true threat. Like even without other players around him,
Yeah,
like he was unreal.
I could see Suarez or Aguero being difficult from a defensive perspective because he was just always in the right position. He would just
Yeah,
like sneak right in front of somebody and like get the goal. I feel like that would be so
yeah,
frustrating for a defender.
yeah.
But yeah, so
I
that was
like
the
that.
last one.
Cool. All right, I did all right. I think I got like 50% of his choices, and
Yeah, and I totally disagree with a few of them. I don't think he got them all right, but
yeah, but those were pretty good. Would you rather's, right? They were pretty even.
yeah, they're pretty equal. I
They-
liked it, and a couple of them are interesting, like that Muller Zlatan one. I would never associate those two together. It's a tough one
Yeah, right. Yeah,
to kind of do. Yeah,
pull those ones out. Yeah,
two
yeah.
very different players.
Awesome. That was fun. All right, before we sign off, I have a story time for you, Austin.
Oh yeah, you went to the
Yeah.
NWSL final. Who
Yeah,
was playing?
so it was in San Diego, and unfortunately the San Diego team, the San Diego Wave, lost in the
I
semifinals.
know, devastating.
But it was at their home stadium, which if they had been able to win, it would have been fantastic. Like I'm sure it would have been like a sellout at Snapdragon. But it was actually New York against the Seattle team, who's actually owned by, I didn't know this, but owned by Olympic Lyon. So their
Oh wow,
technical name is the OL Reign, but they're from Seattle. So basically, their name it has been changed, but it's the Seattle team versus New York, basically. So coast versus coast, Northeast versus Northwest. Um, I was able to get seats in the fourth row behind one of the goals, so I was like
nice.
practically at field level. It was dope.
That's awesome.
So right down there. Unfortunately, I did choose the one spot where like the frickin' camera boom operator was. So like for parts of the game, I had this like gigantic camera boom arm like right in my way. Uh, but I didn't know what to expect, man. I had not been to a women's soccer game probably ever. I didn't know like are there going to be like 1,000 fans or what? There was actually 25,000 fans in the stadium. It was like
That's a good
it
crowd.
wasn't full, but probably at least half, three quarters full of the stadium. So big crowd,
That's
lots of
impressive
traveling
for
fans.
two pretty distant teams. You
Yeah,
know, so that's pretty impressive.
yeah. So I think it was a mix of traveling fans and then just I'm sure there's kind of a big following for the women's team in San Diego that just wanted to go to the game.
Yeah,
Maybe if they're season ticket holders, they get discount tickets, that sort of thing. But it ended up being a really exciting game. Let me pull up the stats here, but basically it came all the way down to the wire. So the first half, it was New York attacking towards the goal. I was behind the Seattle goal, and they scored in the 24th minute. And I didn't realize that both these teams have like good players that I knew on them. So like Rose Lavelle's on the Seattle team, who's like
Oh,
probably the best
she
American player.
she's my
So I
favorite
got to see
player.
her
Yeah.
play. Lynn Williams, who's played a lot on the national team, was on the New York team, along with what's her name? Um, Let me see. Along with uh, Williams Purse, who she's played a little bit on the national team, but she isn't consistent. But there's lots of good players. And then Esther Gonzalez, who was on the Spanish team that won the World Cup, she
Yeah.
plays striker for New York.
Nice.
So like there was like a lot of good players. So it was a high level game. New York goes up 1-0. What's her name? Purse dribbles three people. So nutmeg, dribble, cross, goal. Like literally
Wow.
torched three players and then crossed it in for a goal. It was insane. And then literally 5 minutes later, Rose Lavelle scores, ties it up 1-1. At the end of injury time in the first half, Esther Gonzalez comes in and scores the go-ahead goal 2-1. So whole second half, it's 2-1. I'm kind of rooting for Seattle so that we can like have a game, right? Tie it up,
Yeah,
go to
yeah,
extra
yeah.
time or something. So they're pressing. They had an opportunity one-on-one with a goalie. Goalie saved it, right? They're like doing everything they can. Gets down to injury time in the 97th minute. There's another breakaway. Goalie comes out and handballs it to save it outside of the box. Red card on VAR review.
What?
It's a red card. They'd use all their subs. So they have to give a field player the goalie gloves, and and Seattle gets a free kick right outside of the box.
Oh my god.
This is like deep in injury time, and so they have this like field player that you could tell just like doesn't play goalie, and I'm right behind this goal. This is the goal I'm right behind.
Yeah.
In goal, like trying to set up the wall, and they're like I have a free kick right on the edge of the box, and I hated it, but it was sort of towards the left edge of the box, and instead of having a righty take it to try to swing it around the wall to the far
Oh
post,
no, they had a
they
lefty.
brought Rose up to hit it lefty and try to go near post, and she couldn't get it over the wall, and it just clipped like
No.
the front right person's head. All you have to do is get it on frame. The goalie isn't going to save shit,
I know.
and they didn't even get it on frame. So they ended up losing.
My
in
girl
the final,
Rose, I was going to
2-1.
say she's the best player, and damn, she didn't.
And also, Rapinoe is on Seattle, and this was her last professional game. She's retiring after the season. I forgot to
Oh, I
mention this.
totally forgot about this.
She started the game and got hurt 4 minutes into the game. Like tweaked her ankle and had to sub out like 4 minutes into the game. So she's like in a walking boot crying. So it was crazy. Like I couldn't have asked for more from that sort of game. It was actually really exciting. Got to see a true trophy ceremony with confetti and fireworks.
Nice.
Raising the trophy. And we were on the Seattle side, so we got all the crying players and stuff on our side while they're watching the other team raise the trophy. So it was very interesting. There's a lot of sort of positivity in the stands, right? There's not a lot of like screw the other team. It's very much like let's go our team, you know.
Yeah,
so it's kind of different vibes than what we're used to. But it was actually really fun. It was entertaining. I definitely would go back.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I haven't been to a Wave game, but they get big crowds just for regular games. They for sure would have sold out. I didn't know that they did the Super Bowl style where they just cycle through stadiums.
Different sites.
Yeah, instead of playing it. Yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah, they actually my buddy was saying that the semifinal there was actually more people because it was the San Diego was playing at home. They played the semifinal there too.
Mm-hmm.
And there was actually like 30,000 people or something, but it was still the record for a final. So for a championship game, it was still the most that they had. So
I mean, that's a big crowd.
That's cool.
That feels like a big crowd.
Yeah, I mean
25K is a lot of people.
4 or 5 times the size of the crowd I went to for the Oakland Roots. Like it's a solid size stadium too.
That's more than Queens Park Rangers when I went to Loftus Road. There's zero chance that
like
stadium
10K
could
there.
hold like more than 15,000.
Yeah.
It felt like 5,000.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Well, next season, hopefully the Wave make it.
Yeah, man. Check out a game if you can.
All right, international break.
more loyal.
So, I don't know when the next time we're gonna pod is. because we got time until the next matches.
Yeah, maybe we might skip the second one this week, but it might be fun to catch up on some international Euro qualifier type things, or maybe get another starting 11 in. We've been wanting to
Oh, we
spend some time
should.
working on
Yes, the
a
All
few of
Party
those
11
topics.
is in the works. Really looking forward to this one. Good call.
Yeah,
That's what
so
we got
we
to
got an
do.
opportunity here. Let's take it.
Yes, absolutely. All right, man. Well, I'll talk to
All
you
right,
then.
all right,
All
sounds
right.
good.